If you are a woman of color that is excellent at your job, but you're still not being promoted, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Climb Podcast, where we are diving into taboo topics and redefining the rules for women of color leaders. Get ready as we share the stories and amplify the voices of extraordinary women of color, from navigating workplace challenges to celebrating triumphs. On this podcast, we've got you covered. So buckle up and join us as we embark on today's empowering journey. Welcome to the Climb Podcast. I'm your host, Felicia Smith, and I'm here to tell you all the things that no one explains about career advancement for women of color. Not the polite version, not the inspirational version, the real version. You know, there was a season in my career where I felt like I was doing everything right. I was working hard, and I just knew if I stayed prepared and I delivered consistently, that someone would tap me on the shoulder and they would say, "Hey, you're ready for that next position." But the tap never came. Instead, I got these high visibility roles. I executed flawlessly in Felicia's thoughts, right? I knew all the operations. I answered every question. I was deep in the weeds. But here's what no one told me, and here's what no one tells us. Organizations reward tactical excellence, but they promote strategic visibility. They reward tactical excellence, but they promote strategic visibility. And until you really understand the difference, you'll keep working harder when what you really need to do is to position yourself. And for me, this really was a missed opportunity to be seen as strategic in that role. So I want to start off by clearly defining when I say tactical, what that means. So when I say tactical, I mean doing the job that you're assigned and doing it and doing it and doing it well, right? You execute, you deliver, you complete what's in front of you, you prove that you can handle what's on your plate. But baby, strategic is a whole nother level. I mean, they see you and they understand, they know that you understand how it all works and how the projects that you're working on affects the whole organization, the bottom line, which is the profit if you're in corporate America, and you understand how to connect the dots. You understand all the ripple effects, the risks, the costs, the timing, the optics, not just your task list. Because tactical people really focus on, I can do what is assigned. But strategic people really understand what they are doing fits into the larger picture and how it impacts everything. Because, hey, you can be a prize pony, right? Excellent at your race. But if all they ever see you do is run that same track, they will never picture you in different arenas. And if you're always the one who's just solving all the problems and you're not the one who's defining the direction, then they won't see you as the person who's a strategic leader, excuse me. Because strategic leaders just don't execute. They frame issues, they set priorities, they ask better questions, and they really get the opportunity to shape the decisions before they are made. And the truth of the matter is, if you don't know this, don't feel bad because no one ever teaches high performing women of color how to make that shift. We often just talk about keeping our head down and doing the work. So this is not a talent gap, right? It's not that you don't have what you need. It's an exposure gap. And let's talk about why this exposure really matters. Women in general earn 81 cents to the dollar of white men. But women of color, they earn closer to 64 cents to the white man's dollar. That means that we are operating at 60% of what we are truly worth. And this has nothing to do with us having a lack of degrees. This has everything to do with us not being positioned. And so because we're not positioned, our value is discounted. So when we talk about not being seen as strategic, this isn't abstract, right? This is economical. It's generational. It's whether or not our contributions translate into compensation and access. Because when you don't understand the strategic shift, you will internalize the stall in your career. You'll think you need another certification. You'll think you need another degree, another late night. And what you really need is altitude in positioning. You need to lift your head up. Stop being the person who's always the know-it-all or know everything, and being the person who understands how to frame something. Leadership isn't about talent. It's about proximity. It's about visibility. It's about who advocates for you when you're not in the room. And if you don't understand how access actually works, you'll internalize the outcomes. And that understanding that those outcomes are a part of the larger structure. You'll think it's about your confidence. You'll think it's about your personality. You'll think it's about timing. And to be honest, sometimes it can be timing. But the bottom line is it's positioning. And if women of color are earning 64 cents to the dollar, we cannot afford to be excellent and invisible. We cannot afford to communicate in ways that shows that we're competent but hides who we are as leaders. We cannot afford to not be seen as strategic and just be seen as tactical. So if you hear nothing else, I want you to know that your career is not where it is or stalling because you lack talent. It's stalling because no one has taught you the rules of positioning. You don't need another certification. You don't need you don't need anything else but more altitude and positioning. You do not need to prove that you're competent. You need to be seen as strategic. And this shift, when I tell you, it changes everything. Game changer, right? So the climb as an organization and a podcast is not about inspiration. It's about infrastructure. It's about language. It's about strategy, proximity, access. And if you are ready to move from being just seen as excellent and invisible to strategic and visible, subscribe to the Climb Podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. But also share this with a woman who needs the language for what she's experiencing in her career. And most importantly, come back next week because we are building this and teaching this layer by layer, right? You don't have to climb alone and you don't have to make a whole bunch of mistakes figuring it out all by yourself. I want you to join me as I teach you everything you need to know to be successful in your career and to be positioned. Until next time, keep climbing and keep striving, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks for tuning into the Climb Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on wherever you listen to podcasts. For updates and behind-the-scenes content, make sure you're following us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Join the Climb. Until next time, keep climbing and keep thriving, sis. See you next episode.